You've been lied to about bread. Walk down any supermarket aisle and you'll see loaves labelled wholemeal, seeded, artisan, farmhouse, packaging covered in wheat stalks and rustic fonts designed to make you think you're buying something wholesome, something real. But pick up that loaf and read the ingredients. Sugar, rapeseed oil, palm oil, emulsifiers, flour treatment agents, preservatives with E numbers that sound like periodic table elements. But here's the good news. Buried among all that factory-produced nonsense are 8 brands actually making proper bread. Let's count them down from good to exceptional. 8. Warburton's seeded batch. Let's start with a controversial one. Yes, Warburton's, the same company making that spongy white sliced bread that bounces like a stress ball. But stick with me here, because buried in their range is something actually worth buying. The seeded batch loaf is a completely different animal from their standard fare. One reviewer on Reddit put it perfectly. I was genuinely shocked. This isn't like their regular bread at all. You can actually see seeds throughout the entire loaf, not just sprinkled on top for show. The texture has proper bite to it. Check the ingredients and you'll see why. Wholemeal wheat flour is the first ingredient, not white flour with a bit of brown mixed in. Then you've got a proper seed blend. Linseed, sunflower, pumpkin, brown and golden linseed. These aren't there for decoration. Linseeds contain omega-3 fatty acids. Pumpkin seeds have magnesium, which can contribute to normal blood pressure. You're getting actual nutrition. But here's the thing about Warburton's seeded batch. It's still a commercial loaf made by a massive company. Yes, it's better than their standard range. Yes, the ingredient list is shorter and more recognizable, but you'll still find dextrose in there, emulsifiers, flour treatment agents. It's better, not perfect. One customer described it as the compromise loaf, when your family won't touch proper bakery bread but you can't stomach buying another plastic-wrapped sponge. This is the middle ground. And you know what? That's fair. Not everyone is ready to jump straight to dense rye bread and long fermented sourdough. If this is your stepping stone away from ultra-processed white bread, that's progress. Available at most major supermarkets for around £1.50. 7. Village Bakery Organic Wholemeal. Now we're getting somewhere. Village Bakery is one of those brands that doesn't shout about itself, but people who know. They're a proper bakery based in Cumbria, and they've been making organic bread since the 1970s. Long before organic was trendy, before every corporate brand slapped natural on their packaging, Village Bakery was actually doing it. Their organic wholemeal loaf is straightforward. Organic stoneground wholemeal flour, water, sea salt, yeast. That's the entire ingredient list. 4 ingredients. This is what bread is supposed to be. A Waitrose shopper wrote, "First time I bought this, I was genuinely confused. It felt dense, it looked dark, it didn't have that soft, pillowy texture I associated with bread. Then I tasted it. Actual flavour. Nutty, slightly sweet, you could taste the grain. I realised I'd been eating bread-flavoured air for 30 years. Stoneground flour makes a difference. It is milled in a single, slower process that keeps the bran, germ and endosperm together, rather than separating and recombining them as in modern roller milling. Nutritionally, both methods can produce wholemeal flour with similar values, but stoneground flour often has a slightly coarser texture and fuller grain flavour because more of the natural structure of the grain is preserved. It's a more traditional style of milling, and many people find it gives the bread a deeper, nuttier taste and a more satisfying texture, which is exactly what sets this loaf apart from softer, more heavily processed alternatives. Village Bakery doesn't do that. They use flour that's been ground the old way, and you can taste it. The texture takes getting used to. This isn't soft sandwich bread that compresses in your hand. One reviewer admitted, "My kids called it the heavy bread and refused to eat it for weeks. Now they ask for it specifically." Turns out when you're not addicted to sugar and air, you start appreciating real food. Available at Waitrose and some independent shops, usually around £2.20 for a loaf. Yes, it costs more than factory bread, but you're actually getting bread, not a chemistry experiment. 6. Biona Organic Rye Bread. Right, let's talk about rye, because rye bread has a reputation problem in Britain. People think it's that dense, sour stuff Germans eat. But here's what most people don't know. Rye is actually one of the healthiest grains you can eat. Rye generally contains more fibre than wheat. It has a lower glycemic index, which means it doesn't spike your blood sugar the way white bread does. The fibre in rye specifically is the kind that feeds the good bacteria in your gut. And rye flour contains more minerals than refined white wheat flour, more iron, more magnesium, more potassium. Biona's organic rye bread is German style, which means it's dense, it's dark, and it's nothing like sliced white. The ingredient list is beautiful. Organic whole grain rye flour, water, sea salt, yeast, nothing else. No sugar, no oils, no emulsifiers pretending to improve texture. One customer wrote a review that made me laugh. Tried to make a normal sandwich, couldn't bite through it, thought I'd made a terrible mistake. Then I ate it the German way, thin slices with butter and cheese. Life-changing. This isn't sandwich bread, it's a completely different category of food. And that's the thing about authentic rye bread, you eat it differently. Thin slices, toasted or untoasted with proper toppings. Cheese, smoked fish, avocado, eggs. The bread has so much flavour on its own that it becomes part of the meal, not just a vehicle for other ingredients. Another fan described the experience. One slice keeps you full for hours, actual hours. I used to eat 3 slices of normal bread for breakfast and be hungry by 10 a.m. One slice of this rye bread and I'm good until lunch. That's the fibre and the protein working together. Rye bread is genuinely satiating in a way that white bread simply cannot match. Available at most health food shops and increasingly at larger Tesco's and Sainsbury's, around £2.50 for a 500-gram loaf. Lasts for ages compared to commercial bread, which often goes mouldy quickly. 5. Bertinet Bakery Sourdough. Richard Bertinet is a French baker who's been making waves in Britain for years. His bakery in Bath supplies several supermarket chains, and his sourdough is the real deal. Not sourdough style, not made with sourdough, actual, properly fermented sourdough. Here's what you need to understand about sourdough. Real sourdough takes time. The starter culture of wild yeast and bacteria often needs at least 5 days to develop. Then the dough itself needs 12 to 24 hours of slow fermentation. This process breaks down the gluten proteins, making the bread easier to digest. It also breaks down compounds called phytates that normally prevent your body from absorbing minerals like iron and zinc. So sourdough doesn't just taste better, your body can actually access more of its nutrition. But most supermarket sourdough is not made this way. They make regular bread and then often add a bit of vinegar for that tangy flavour and slap sourdough on the label. We feel it's a bit like legal fraud. Bertinet doesn't do that. His sourdough is legitimately fermented using a starter culture. Check the ingredients. Wheat flour, water, sourdough culture, salt, no commercial yeast listed. That's your proof. A Sainsbury's customer wrote, "I've been to Artisan bakeries in London that charge £6 for a sourdough loaf. Bertinet's supermarket version is around £2.50 and tastes just as good. Proper crust that crackles, open crumb structure with irregular holes, that distinctive sour tang. This is legitimate sourdough for a price that doesn't require a second mortgage. The only downside, it's not available everywhere. You'll find it in larger Sainsbury's stores and Waitrose, but not every branch. One frustrated buyer complained, 'My local Sainsbury's doesn't stock it. I have to drive to the next town. I've filed 3 requests with the store manager.' That's how good this bread is. I'm willing to argue with retail management to get it stocked. When you find it, buy 2. It freezes perfectly, and you'll be grateful to have a backup loaf when your local shop inevitably runs out." 4. Gale's Bakery Seeded Sourdough. If you live in London or a major city, you've probably seen Gale's Bakery. They started as a tiny artisan bakery and have expanded into a chain, which immediately makes food snobs suspicious. Has the quality declined? Have they sold out? Short answer, no. Gale's has managed the rare trick of scaling up while maintaining quality. Their seeded sourdough is proof. Unlike supermarket sourdough, Gale's doesn't hide behind vague terms. They're explicit, slow fermented for at least 20 hours using our own natural starter. That's specific, that's auditable, that's confidence. The seeded version adds another dimension. Sunflower seeds, linseeds, pumpkin seeds, all mixed throughout the dough, not just sprinkled on top. One reviewer described it as the sourdough for people who found regular sourdough too plain. The seeds add crunch, they add nutrition, and they add staying power. A customer left a detailed review. "I'm diabetic, so I monitor my blood sugar religiously. White bread sends it soaring. Even wholemeal bread causes a spike. This sourdough, gentle rise, stays stable for hours. The combination of fermentation and seeds creates something that actually works with my body instead of against it." That's the magic of proper sourdough. The fermentation process changes the bread's glycemic impact. Studies have shown that sourdough can reduce the blood sugar spike in some people by up to 20% compared to regular bread, even when made from the same flour. Gale's also does something clever with their slicing. They slice it thicker than normal supermarket bread. One person noted, "At first I thought they'd messed up the slicer. Then I realized this is how thick bread should be. You get actual substance, actual flavor in each slice. You're not eating compressed air. Available at Gale's own shops and increasingly in M&S and other retailers, around £3.50 for a large loaf. Expensive, yes, but consider this, you'll eat less of it because it's actually filling, so that £3.50 loaf lasts as long as 2 cheap ones. 3. Vogel's Original Mixed Grain. Vogel's is a New Zealand brand that's been making serious inroads in the UK market, and once you try it, you understand why. This bread has a cult following. People don't just like Vogel's, they're evangelical about it. The secret is in the blend. Vogel's uses wheat flour, but also barley flour, rye flour, kibbled soy, and a mix of whole grains and seeds. Every slice is packed with visible grains. You can see the barley, the rye, the seeds. This isn't refined flour with some seeds thrown on top. This is the real thing. One convert wrote what might be the most enthusiastic bread review ever posted online. I thought bread was bread, toast was toast. Then I tried Vogel's and realized I'd been sleepwalking through life. This bread has texture. It has flavor. Toasted with butter, it's not breakfast. It's an experience. I sound insane, I know. It's bread. But it's also not bread. It's whatever the platonic ideal of bread is. The protein content is what surprises people. Vogel's Original has approximately 5.8 grams of protein per slice. Regular white bread has maybe around 2.5 grams. That extra protein combined with all that fiber from the whole grains means this bread keeps you full. Actually full, not I'll just have another slice because I'm still peckish full. A gym goer reviewed it from a performance angle. I eat 2 slices of Vogel's with peanut butter before a workout. Sustained energy for the entire session, no crash. I used to eat oatmeal because I thought that's what you had to do. This is better, easier to digest, more satisfying, and tastes like food instead of porridge. The texture divides opinion though. Some people find it too dense. One honest review admitted, "My partner calls it doorstop bread." Fair, it is dense, but that's because it's made of actual grains and seeds, not air and preservatives. Once you adjust your expectations, once you realize bread shouldn't compress like a sponge, you start to appreciate what this is. Available at Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, and most other major supermarkets, usually around £2.50. The slices are thick, so a loaf goes further than you'd think. 2. Bakers plus Baristas Sourdough Range. Here's a name you might not have heard of, and that's exactly why it's at number 2. Bakers plus Baristas is a smaller chain that supplies their bread to some supermarkets, and they're making some of the best sourdough you can buy in Britain. Their range includes white sourdough, multigrain sourdough, and rye sourdough, all properly fermented, all using genuine starter cultures, all with ingredient lists short enough to memorize. This is proper bakery bread that happens to be available in supermarkets. A customer who clearly knows their bread wrote, "I've eaten sourdough in San Francisco, in Paris, in Berlin." Bakers plus Baristas is competitive with all of them. The crust has the right resistance, firm but not tooth-breaking. The crumb is open and irregular, which tells you it's been properly proofed, and the flavour has complexity. Slightly sweet, slightly tangy, with that unmistakable fermented depth. What sets them apart is consistency. Some bakeries produce amazing sourdough on Monday and mediocre bread on Friday. Bakers plus Baristas seems to have nailed their process. Multiple reviewers mentioned this. Every loaf is the same high quality. I've bought this probably 30 times now and it's never once disappointed. Their multigrain sourdough deserves special mention. One reviewer described it as what Hovis seeded batch thinks it is when it looks in the mirror. The base is proper sourdough, then they add a blend of seeds and grains. You get the digestive benefits of fermentation plus the nutritional boost of whole grains and seeds. A parent wrote about introducing their kids to it. I was worried they'd reject it. Kids can be weird about texture, but I framed it as proper baker's bread and let them try it toasted with butter. They loved it. Now they complain when we occasionally buy regular bread saying it tastes of nothing. That's what happens when you give people real food. They realize what they've been missing. The only downside is availability. Bakers plus Baristas supply certain M&S stores and some independent retailers, but they're not everywhere yet. Check their website for stockists. When you find it, stock up. Around £3.20 for a large loaf and worth every penny. 1. Small batch sourdough from in-store bakeries. Here's the truth. The absolute best bread you can buy in a UK supermarket isn't a brand at all. It's the stuff made on-site in the in-store bakery. Not every supermarket does this properly. Most of what you see in the bakery section is par-baked elsewhere and finished in store. But some supermarkets, particularly Waitrose, larger M&S stores, and some Sainsbury's, have genuine bakers working on site, making real sourdough from scratch. And we feel it makes everything else pale in comparison. A Waitrose customer explained, "I used to walk past the in-store bakery because I assumed it was overpriced and not much better than packaged bread. Then one day, I was early and I watched them actually mixing dough, shaping loaves, pulling fresh sourdough out of the oven. I bought one. Warm, crusty, the most incredible smell. That was 3 years ago. I haven't bought packaged bread since." The advantage of in-store baking is freshness. Packaged bread, even good packaged bread, loses something in the process of being baked, cooled, packaged, transported and stored. But bread made that morning, that's different. The crust is crisp in a way packaged bread can never achieve. The interior is tender. The flavour is more complex because it hasn't been sitting in plastic for days. M&S in particular has stepped up their in-store sourdough. Multiple customers mentioned this. M&S used to be about expensive ready meals. Now their bakery section rivals actual artisan bakeries. The sourdough made in-store is phenomenal. One enthusiastic reviewer wrote, "I asked the baker what makes their sourdough so good. She explained they use a starter that's been maintained for over 2 years, feeding it daily. The fermentation time is minimum 18 hours. They use organic flour and they bake it fresh every day. That's the difference. That's why it costs £3.80 for a loaf, because it's actual craftsmanship, not industrial production." The downside? It sells out. If you stroll into Waitrose at 4 p.m. expecting to find fresh sourdough, you'll be disappointed. One seasoned buyer advised, "Learn your bakery's schedule. Mine bakes sourdough on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday mornings. I'm there by 10 a.m. on those days. And by noon, it's gone." Some stores let you pre-order. Ring ahead, ask if they can save you a loaf. Bakery staff are usually delighted when someone actually cares about their bread instead of grabbing the cheapest sliced white. At the time of writing this, a price comparison someone did showed the value. Artisan bakery sourdough in my town, £5.50. Waitrose in-store sourdough, £3.50, same quality. I did a blind taste test with my family, they couldn't tell the difference. This is the secret weapon hiding in plain sight. Real bakers, real bread, real fermentation in a regular supermarket. You just have to know it exists and be willing to time your shop around the baking schedule. There you have it. 8 brands actually making bread that deserves the name. From Warburton's proving that even massive companies can do better when they try, all the way up to the in-store artisan sourdoughs that rival anything from a specialist bakery. Notice what all of these have in common. Short ingredient lists, real fermentation processes, actual whole grains, usually no palm oil, no emulsifiers, no flour treatment agents, no paragraph of E-numbers pretending to be food. This is what bread is supposed to be. Your great-grandparents would recognize every ingredient in these loaves. That's the standard we should demand. Yes, they cost more than 50 pence sliced white, but you'll eat less because they actually satisfy you. You'll possibly be healthier because you're feeding your body real nutrition instead of refined starch and additives. And you'll taste the difference every single day. The bread aisle is full of lies, but buried among all that industrial nonsense are these 8 options, proving that it's still possible to buy decent bread in Britain. You just have to know where to look and be willing to read the label. Stop buying bread based on habit. Stop trusting that a familiar brand name means quality. Read the ingredients. Demand better. Your body will thank you for it.